Welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Lens with your host, Jake Scott. Just got back from DC, so solo today, but I do have a guest, Master Distiller John Rempe of Lux Row. So sit back and buckle into the latest episode of the Bourbon Lens. John, it wouldn't be an episode of the Bourbon Lens without take two, so people won't understand that, but we were probably 20 minutes deep in the first podcast and didn't realize that it wasn't recording.
Wasn't recording.
So you know what? We do it again. Conversation was good, but we'll keep on drinking because we're just going to talk about the star of the show first. We'll talk about this first because we are sipping it. Blood Oath Pact 11. Can you believe we're on 11?
Can't. I really can't.
Comes out fast and quick.
Yep.
Now this is going to hit shelves this weekend.
Yeah.
So it's here. We got a sneak preview. So this is the 2025 release, finished in anejo tequila barrels, correct?
Correct.
And did you partner with another portfolio brand for this one, or did you pick a different portfolio?
It's from our Gonzalez Distillery down in Guadalajara.
Yeah. Which there's been a lot of good tequila come out of there.
Yeah. El Mayor.
Is delightful. I had some of their special edition. They had like their 25th anniversary last year.
That's Grace. She's the master distiller, Grace Gonzalez. Yeah. She's incredible. She makes incredible. And yeah, she's done some very innovative things on some of her finishes and some of her releases. She's great.
So this brings us to your thing. Are you a tequila drinker?
I'm a tequila drinker. That's my second love. After this, I spent probably the equivalent of 2.5 years probably down in Guadalajara making tequila over the course of I've been doing this for almost 27 years, and I would go down there all the time, and I learned how to make tequila way before I learned how to do this. And I love tequila, and I've been trying to do a tequila finish for so long, and I've tried, and it has never really just come out the way I wanted it. It's kind of a hard finish to do.
Yeah.
They're the taste profiles are so different.
Yeah.
But I just really wanted it to not be overpowered by the tequila, that peppery, the peppery note that it really can overpower it and just kill the bourbon. But I got this one right finally. Yeah. And I've been trying it for a long time.
So speaking of, most bourbon drinkers probably aren't tequila drinkers unless they're drinking a Paloma or a Margarita, or something like that. So for those who don't know, a Blanco tequila, clear distillate. Yep. I think they use pot stills down there.
Pot stills.
Yeah. Yep. So they're going to cut the whiskey, a variety of different ways. It's probably got different rules. I know it does different rules than here in America for what American bourbon is. So real quick, what should a ideal tequila, Blanco tequila taste like?
An ideal 100% agave Blanco tequila that you should get some nice agave notes, a little bit of that peppery note to it, and it should be smooth. It shouldn't burn. It should be very sippable.
Yeah, and agave is kind of like, I feel like it's a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of lime, citrus kind of note.
Yep. Correct.
Not too much going on to it, but it's present.
Right. Yeah. I mean, when they're cooking the agave down there, we have these big autoclave steam cookers for it, and then when it comes out and that juice comes flowing out, and then they take the pulp out of it, and you can eat it, and it's like a sweet potato actually.
That sounds delightful.
Yeah.
If you've never watched anything on like how tequila is made, go watch it. It is crazy, how they cut it down, how they harvest it, to like how it's actually like made. It's actually quite fascinating.
Yeah, I actually went down there probably 20 years ago with a whole crew from the Discovery Channel, and we did it was called Factory Made, but we did a whole episode on how tequila is made with our distillery, starting out in the agave fields all the way into the distillery.
It's a process, that's for sure.
Yep.
And so anejo means it's finished for a length of time, correct?
Correct. Yeah, anejo means aged. Reposado means rested. So yeah.
Okay. And so aged is it less than 6 months?
It's more than 6 months.
More than 6 months.
Yeah, correct.
Rested means less than 6 months.
Yeah, it's usually around 3 to 6 months.
Okay. I've always not knew what that meant. I knew that I preferred the aged and rested tequilas because I do like that sweetness it brings out. It brings some of that used bourbon barrel or used whiskey barrel most of the time, it brings those flavor profiles forward for me, which I really like. But you have to understand the clear spirit to really appreciate what the finished spirit actually is.
Yep. Yeah, it does. It definitely changes it.
Oh, I can imagine. Then there's some tequilas that you probably want to avoid, and there's some tequilas that you want to enjoy. El Mayor is one that you probably want to enjoy.
Yep.
So talk to us a little bit about what happened with Pact 11 here. Proof, details, how'd you craft?
So Pact 11, the proof's 98.6, as it is for every one of my Blood Oath releases. It's kind of funny. I initially wanted it to be 100 proof, I mean, maybe even a little bit higher, but then our marketing folks decided that it's Blood Oath, let's do 98.6, the temperature of the body of blood. And so I thought, okay, it's close enough. I tasted it and it works. It actually does work really, really well. But this release here, Pact 11 with the anejo barrels. So it's a 14-year, a 10-year wheat bourbon, and then a 7-year. So the other two are rye bourbons. That 10 years is a wheater. But I finished the 7 in the anejo barrels, and I always finished the youngest whiskey in those barrels. I don't want to, in my mind, I don't want to ruin the older whiskeys that have taken on all that great profile from those barrels, just the original oak barrels.
Yeah.
So I finished the 7-year in the anejo barrels. It was a little over 5 months finish in that. Tasting it every week, sampling it every week. I mean, like I was saying before, for me, this is one of the hardest finishes to do because you could blow past that endpoint that you want so fast.
For sure.
And I wanted to really showcase that agave flavor, and you could blow past that real quick, and then the pepperiness and the spiciness from the tequila just takes over. But
for sure.
Well,
and that's the one thing. The first time I sipped this, I'm like, it tasted like a really good bourbon.
If you're looking for tequila, and I talked to somebody just a couple weeks ago, and I said, if you're looking for this to taste like tequila, it's not going to taste like tequila.
Yeah,
you're going to have to appreciate that it's more the agave sweetness that's coming through.
Well, and that's what I would say is you do get an elevated sweetness to it, and if you're really in tune, and I'm getting my body ready for Cinco de Mayo, apparently.
Yeah.
I've been, crafting some cocktails. I got my grapefruits at home. I'm going to make some palomas, which I've never made, right? Which is the national drink of Mexico. It's not a margarita because a margarita is actually made by an American, which is wild enough. So we're going to have some palomas, going to have some, beautiful margaritas, obviously. And I was like, man, I really appreciated this Blanco tequila I was drinking because I liked the peppery, but like when I could see it, the sweetness, and then like I would smell some agave nectar to like make that's what I think you have to do is you have to understand how the spirit's broken down. So instead of using simple syrup, have some agave nectar, smell what that sweetness would be. Because it's not that artificial stuff that we would potentially make it with.
Right, exactly.
And so that's what I appreciate. There's a touch of pepper. I can go looking for it.
The finish, you get a little bit of that pepperiness that you're used to with tequila, but it's slight. I didn't want it to overpower. I just want it. Most of my Blood Oaths, it's always just been a slight finish because I always want to showcase the actual bourbon, but just with a little bit of something extra.
It is I would say it's a wisp. The one that took me a while to like appreciate was number 5, the Caribbean rum cask. That one took a while to open up. The flavors had to marry right to me, and people can say oxidation, whatever. Oxidation is definitely a thing.
Sure, it is.
That bottle sat open probably for 6-7 months, and then I went back to it. I was like, "This is crushable now."
Yeah.
And so this, we got Cinco de Mayo coming up. Perfect time to drop this.
There you go. Yeah.
Because a bourbon drinker could say, I don't want to drink margaritas or palomas, but I'll drink some anejo finished Blood Oath.
Exactly.
So, I have to ask the question, right? Like, they're all your children, all 11 of them.
Yeah.
Do you have one that, obviously this one stands out because you've been tinkering with it for so long. Is there one other Blood Oath that kind of stands out to you in the realm of the 11 that you've created?
Originally, I mean, it's kind of hard for me to decide which one is my favorite. I mean, it's kind of like asking, which one of your kids is your favorite, even though
they're their favorite for different reasons. I've got 2.
Exactly. So Pack 3, that was the Cabernet Sauvignon. I love Cabernet Sauvignon finishes. When I got the chance to do it again with our Davis County, I jumped at that chance. I loved that finish for a long time. I loved all of them. Pack 4 with the toasted oak. It kind of tastes like a toasted marshmallow, almost like a s'more. But my favorite right now is this one.
Yeah.
Just slightly better than Pack 10, which was my double. It was my Cabernet Franc and Merlot.
Yeah. And that was delightful as well. And like, what I'll say about this one versus the other one, like I wouldn't have to think about drinking this, right? Like this is something you can pour in a glass and you can go by the campfire. You can go talk to, your friends or whatever and really enjoy this whiskey, which I appreciate. As someone who sits down and reviews a lot of whiskey and talks about it often, sometimes you just need the pours. You just don't have to even think about it. Like I knew that this was elevated bourbon because it had depth and complexity to it, but like you knew there was something a little bit more because it had like that notes of agave in there and the peppery notes of the anejo. So kudos, because I think people could really just crush this absolutely all day.
It could be a dangerous one.
It is.
You can lose yourself a little bit. And when you stand up, you're like, whoa, maybe.
Yeah, done a little bit too much. You mentioned Davies County. That brand has Sunset.
Yes.
Yeah. And, it's kind of hard to manage. You have Rebel, Ezra, Blood Oath. You've got the elevated portfolio of the double barrel. It's kind of hard to manage probably all those different brands.
That brand, I mean, that was just unfortunate timing. We released that right at the beginning of the COVID shutdown. And that was kind of like the death knell on that brand. Right? I mean, it had some legs, but it was hard to get that one going exactly how we were wanting to. I love that brand. I mean, it was a 4-grain that I did some finishes on. I did some oak, French oak finishes on there, and I hated to see that, but I love that brand.
Yeah. And those are the things like you have to, like, as you all grow, right? You're 7 years into the distillery. Like you have to be willing to say, this was really cool. It's a great project. It had its run, but we need to focus on what's core, what people enjoy. And I think you all have done that. People enjoy, Ezra Brooks, they enjoy Rebel for a variety of different reasons. In the first recording, we had a really nice conversation about those. But, one of the things I think people have also enjoyed is your all's soiree into NASCAR, right? And we talked to you and Kyle last year, but you picked a variety of barrels, and now Kyle has his own.
Yeah, he's got his own single barrel. Yeah, the KB 108, Kyle Busch 108. It's incredible. I sat down with him when he first came into the distillery, and he likes to tell a story of me going through a tasting with him, and I'm saying, hey, you taste the vanilla, you taste the caramel, and he was like, no, because it just burns, it just burns. But he's come a long way in terms of being able to sit down and taste through some high proof barrels like that, and he's getting really, really good at it, and he picks some incredible barrels.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of hard to mess up when you can really kind of cherry pick, right?
You're right.
And you know where the honey holes are.
Right, exactly. I will say that I kind of pre-picked his barrels a little bit. And then let him pick from those. So, yeah.
Well, and speaking of barrel picking, we did cover this as well on the unaired version of this. And it's going to be a running joke between me and John probably for the rest of our lives now. That one time we were in the room and you didn't record the podcast, you idiot. So you've also switched from sourced whiskey to now your own distillate pretty much cross board. Like, what's it like as a master distiller now? And that means something to you because
it's huge.
It's now yours.
Yeah. I mean, going into a brand new distillery, building it from the ground up. I mean, I walked onto this property when it was just a field. And we built that distillery, and, we started from scratch, and we were trying to mimic whiskey that we were purchasing from another distillery. And like I was telling you earlier, I mean, they were very, very great to work with. I mean, they were an open book. I mean, they didn't keep any secrets. They wanted us to succeed as much as we wanted to succeed.
For sure.
And they really helped us along. And we were able to mimic that bourbon that we were buying from them. And it was a very nerve-wracking 4 years. I'm telling you, when you're starting from scratch, I mean, most, a new master distiller at a established distillery, I mean, they're walking in and they're already rolling.
Yeah, keeping the process going.
But to I am very, very proud of what we've accomplished here, and it's not just me. I mean, it's our whole team. Yeah, I mean, we crushed it.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. You got to season the still. You got to get the still in the right spot. You got to get your fermentations because wherever they're making whiskey is different than the bacteria that you have here, right? So you got to mess with that.
Absolutely.
Your yeast could be different if theirs is proprietary and you're buying from, let's say, Pat Heist, right? Like Firm Solutions, like the godfather of yeast at this point, right? Exactly, and so there are some differences, and so it's going to be uniquely Lux Row, right? Which is really cool. And speaking of uniquely Lux Row, you all sit kind of in the heart of the outskirts of Bardstown, right?
Yep.
You all probably have some of the most iconic viewpoints, right? Whether you're coming down the Bluegrass Parkway, you can see you all really well. You're coming around this bend, and you may be making a right to go back in the town square or making a left to head to Bardstown Bourbon Company. Being situated here, what's it like being kind of in the really the hub of bourbon?
This is where we've always wanted to be. When we decided to do this, we knew that we wanted to be in Bardstown. We looked at other places, but I mean, deep down, we knew we wanted to be in the bourbon capital of the world, Bardstown, Kentucky. And when we looked at this property, we just fell in love. We're sitting on 90 acres, right on the outskirts. I mean, we are still in the city limits of Bardstown, right? Right on the edge.
Right on the edge.
Our property ends the city limits, basically. But, to be here, we're right here in the center of it. And,
for sure.
I mean, this is the center of the tourism of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. I mean, it's to be included in that and to be as successful as we have been, it's kind of mind-boggling, to be honest.
For sure. So I got two more questions for you because there's a special event happening tonight, and I, again, botched the first recording of this. So question number one, I'm going to repeat something we talked about earlier. So when you have people coming to the Bourbon Trail, it's not people from Louisville, it's not people from Lexington, it's people maybe from Scotland or Japan or India or whatever. What's it like to be able to explain what Lux Row is doing for Kentucky bourbon?
That is my favorite thing, really, to do. It is talking to the guests that come through, and especially if they are new to bourbon, whether they're from down the street sometimes or from. I mean, I just had a couple that was from Australia come in just a few weeks ago, and just explaining them and kind of teaching them about Kentucky bourbon and how it's made. I mean, a lot of times they'll have some preconceived notions of what American whiskey is. I mean, these international guests, and a lot of times they kind of have this notion that it's made in the backwoods down by a creek, and when they think of bourbon, they're almost thinking of moonshine also, and they're thinking of a harsh taste, and this is not going to be good. And then when I sit down with them and I explain how it's made and the process that we go through, and all the way from grain selection all the way coming out of the still and into the barrel and then out of the barrel, and then nosing the bourbon with them and nosing and tasting it, and they're blown away at the complexity of the profile and the smoothness and the caramel and the vanilla and the chocolate and the cherry flavors. And that's my favorite thing to do is showing new people how great bourbon is.
Yeah. And, it's funny, 6 years ago when we started this, I was relatively new to bourbon. I had bought a couple bottles and I had drank in college, as any good college student would have done. But I didn't appreciate it until you sit down and you learn to sip it, you learn to appreciate it. And it's my goal in life, Lauren, if you're listening, is for you to be able to sit in a chair next to me and you to appreciate bourbon. That's my wife's name. But haven't gotten there yet. She's like the faces that people make when they drink bourbon for the first time, or they don't drink bourbon often. Is like, we'll get you there. One day at a time. One sip at a time, right? So my last question to you is, sky's the limit. What does Lux Row look like next year, 2 years? Like, what's your goal for what you all are creating here on this campus?
Well, we've just gone through 2 major expansions, so I don't think we're going to be looking physically any different. But my dream here is just to have that visitor center full every day that we're open, and for the most part, it is. But I want to sell more bourbon, basically. I mean, everybody does. I mean, we're selling a lot of bourbon right now, but success in my mind really is just, I think we're almost there. I mean, just to be considered one of those distilleries on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail that you come to Kentucky for.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of people, they're traveling here and they're coming here just to come to our distillery. And I love it when I hear that from our guests. But I mean, just to keep on doing what we're doing and just keep doing more of it.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I think that's what's really cool is you all are doing a lot of good stuff. You're approachable for the person that is just starting out bourbon. You all put out even a more approachable product, down market, and then you have your halo effect. So there's something for anybody in between.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what's I appreciate, you're not gatekeeping what you're making.
No. Yeah. And we want everybody that walks through those doors, I don't want them to feel like they're walking into some big corporate company.
Yeah.
They're coming in. I want them to feel like they just walked into somebody's home. And I mean, I know that sounds cliche, but I mean, I'm being serious. Our tasting room, we went over concepts of the design of what we wanted. And I flat out said, I do not want tables in a row with somebody sitting up front like they're an instructor or a professor teaching. We have our U-shaped bar, and you come and you just sit down, and I want you to feel like you just came down into my basement in my bar, and we're just hanging out and drinking some whiskey.
For sure. And I'm going to shamelessly plug, because the first time I fell in love with Lux Row was the double barrel 12-year-olds. So if you're here and you can afford $160, a little bit after tax, maybe let's say $170, just do it. You're not going to be mad.
It's outstanding.
It's every time KBF, we got people that come around that are new. We go to Evergreen and we buy sips of the double barrel 12. They're like, oh, that came from Lux. I'm like, you just don't know.
Right.
So now you know.
Yeah.
But now I got a new one. I gotta promote this one because I really enjoy this. If you're a bourbon drinker and Cinco de Mayo's coming up, this is gonna drop Monday. Cinco de Mayo's the following Monday. There you go.
There's your Cinco de Mayo bourbon right there.
And it is. Who needs tequila when you got that?
There you go.
Well, John, really appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me for 2 takes.
2 takes.
2 takes. Right. Sometimes the first one's just not good enough. The second one's the better one.
Yeah.
Everyone, thank you for listening to this episode of the Bourbon Lens. We'll catch you next time. Cheers.